Candy with Eyes2Jesus.blogspot.com, and welcome to New Year's with Eyes2Jesus. I've been doing this for the past several years where I make a video and share our New Year's, my family's New Year's with you. And for us, New Year's begins on New Year's Eve. So this video will show you New Year's Eve day, New Year's Eve night, and then tomorrow, New Year's Day. So right now what I'm doing is I am preparing some of the stuff for New Year's feast that we'll be having tomorrow. Now normally when I make feasts, I start with sweet potatoes, but this time I'm going to go in a bit of a different order to try to maximize how many things I can get baking in the oven, and that'll make the time and work more efficient. So today I've decided to get started with one of the pies. So I'm going to get started first by making a chocolate custard pie. So in my nice big mixing bowl for my chocolate custard pie, I'm going to start with 2 cups of whole milk. And then to that we need to add some sugar. So that's 1 cup of white sugar. And because this is going to have some cocoa in it, which is kind of bitter, I'm going to want to add extra sugar. So I'm just going to add 4 tablespoons of additional white sugar. And now using this same tablespoon, it's time to add the chocolate. So now I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And then this is a custard pie. Custard requires eggs. So next I'm adding eggs. And I'm going to add a total of 4 eggs. Use omega-3 eggs if you are able, because those are healthier. And here's number 3. And number 4. Now I'm going to just give my hands a quick rinse. And then I'm going to add a ½ cup of white flour. That is going to turn into its crust. It'll make its own crust as it bakes. And to that I'm adding 1 teaspoon of real vanilla extract. This is a new bottle. And then we need about a ½ stick of soft butter. Now I need to grab a whisk. And I need to get this all whisked together, and it is going to be a bit clumpy, but the clumps should be small. Now that I got this all whisked together, it is time to move it into a pie pan. So I just buttered a pie pan, and this is very liquidy, and it's got a bunch of small butter clumps floating around in it, and that's normal. So now I'm going to pour this into my buttered pie pan. And this is just going to sit here. I'm going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to bake that later. I'm going to get some other things going first so I can have some things sharing oven. So while this is sitting off to the side, I'm now going to get to work on my next pie that I'm going to make, which is a pecan pie. Now I have the chocolate custard pie. As you saw, I just set it off to the side to bake in a little bit. Now I'm getting started on the pecan pie. So in a buttered pie pan, I just put in 1½ cups of pecans that I just chopped up. If you can buy them chopped, that's great. I couldn't find them any smaller than halves. She's rating the leftover halves. So yeah, 1½ cups of chopped pecans into a buttered pie pan. Set that to the side, get out a nice big mixing bowl, and now let's add the other goodies. So we're going to want 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar, a ½ cup of white flour, because this will be making its own crust, and this is what it needs to do so. And then you want just a little bit of baking soda, like 1/8 of a teaspoon, and then just a slight amount, like maybe ½ teaspoon to 1/8 teaspoon of grapeseed oil. Then you want a ½ stick of butter melted, so I just stuck this in the microwave and melted it. And you want some heavy whipping cream. You want 3/4 cup. So this is a 1/4 measuring cup. So there is 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. And then, using the same measuring cup, you want 3/4 cup of corn syrup. You can use light or dark. I have dark Caro syrup here. So there's 1/4, 1/2, and here comes 3/4. The dark Caro syrup, as it's blending into the heavy whipping cream in the bowl, is actually quite pretty and messy. And then you want some real vanilla extract. You want 1½ teaspoons. So this is 1/2 teaspoon. So there's 1/2, 1, and 1½. And then we want to put in 4 eggs. And again, if you have omega-3 eggs, those would be the best. And throw this away. And need to give my hands a bit of a rinse. Now I'm going to get out a nice clean whisk. And I'm going to get this all whisked together, and then I'll move on to the next step. Once you have this thoroughly whisked together, it'll be a fairly smooth, liquidy mixture. So then what you want to do is you just take your buttered pie pan with the chopped pecans and you want to pour this on top. And it's going to go all the way up to the very top of the pie pan. And that's already looking fairly pecan pie-like. This is going to be really neat. Now I'm just going to move this over here to sit next to my unbaked chocolate custard pie. And now I'm going to get tomorrow's breakfast mixed together, and then I'll get all these baking together. And tomorrow morning for New Year's Day breakfast, we're going to have a strawberry buckle coffee cake. So now I'm going to get started on that. So for the strawberry buckle, I am going to use my handy dandy KitchenAid mixer. So here in my nice big 6-quart KitchenAid mixer bowl, let's go ahead and start getting our first group of ingredients mixed together. So I'm going to start with 2 cups of white flour. And by the way, in all my recipes that I'm showing you today, the white flour is just your standard white all-purpose flour. And then to that, we're going to want 2½ teaspoons of baking powder. So there's 2 1/2. And then we want a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I like to use pink sea salt. And then you need a whole stick of butter. That's 1/2 cup of butter. So 1 stick of butter. Then you got to add the sweet stuff. So I have a 1/4 measuring cup here. I'm going to put 3 of these in, so that we have a total of 3/4 cup of white sugar. And we're going to stick in 1 egg. And like always, after I crack an egg, I always rinse my hands. And then let's add a 1/2 cup of milk. I like to use whole milk. Alright, before we continue on, I'm going to stick this into my mixer and I'm going to get this first group of ingredients all mixed together. After I mix the batter together, I just popped it into a buttered square baking pan. And I actually didn't have enough strawberries, so instead I'm doing mixed berries. So I just put on 2 cups of frozen mixed berries on top. And now I'm going to set this to the side. We're going to work on the topping that we're going to sprinkle on top. So in just a regular bowl here, I don't need a major big bowl. I'm going to start by putting in a 1/2 cup of white flour. This is my 1/4 measuring cup I'm reusing, so I'm just going to do 2 1/4 cups. And then I also need a 1/2 cup of white sugar, so I'm just going to do 2 1/4 cups. Then I need a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and this one is almost empty. A little bit more to hit a 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. and then 1/4 stick of butter. So what I'm going to do is, with my clean, de-ringed hands, I'm just going to mix this together by hand, and then I'm going to grab that 1/2 stick of butter with my hands, just kind of break it into clumps, and then mix it all in with my hands. A lot of people use a fork or a pastry blender. I like to mix this with my hands. I think I get the best consistency. We're looking for a crumble, a dry crumble. I finished mixing the crumble with my hands. I washed my hands as soon as I get my watch and ring back on, and then I just sprinkled the crumble on top. So the berry buckle is now ready to go into the oven. I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees. So this berry buckle, and then here sitting on the edge of my counter, the pecan pie and the chocolate custard pie, they all three bake at 350 degrees. So I'm going to stick them all in, and the 2 pies will be in there for roughly 50 minutes. I'll start checking them at about 45 minutes, and then the crumble will be in there for about 50 minutes to 1 hour. So I'm going to get these in there, and then we're moving on to the next thing.
I'm going to make an Oreo pudding pie because I can. So the first thing I need to do is mix the pudding mix with milk and whipped cream. The recipe says whipped topping, but apparently this is that. It feels weird to mix whipped cream into something because you're not supposed to do that in my brain. Pretty. Look at it.
Yeah, that looks good.
Here you go. You want it?
Yummy.
Now I have to refrigerate it for 4 hours or until firm.
So I just moved daughter's pudding pie, the Oreo pudding pie that she made, into the garage refrigerator. I'm really blessed and happy that we have 2 refrigerators again, so that when we have feast times like this, then we can have our feast stored in the garage and then just keep our regular food stored in the kitchen refrigerator. Alright, so the pecan pie, the chocolate custard pie, and the berry buckle are finishing up in the oven. They will be coming out soon. Meanwhile, I just peeled and chopped 4 medium sweet potatoes to get started on my sweet potato casserole. So they are boiling in the pot behind me on the stove. So I'm just waiting for these 3 to come out of the oven, which is going to be any minute now, and for the sweet potatoes to finish cooking. And then I'm going to pop them into my KitchenAid mixer and continue working on that sweet potato casserole. The sweet potatoes just finished cooking. I just used my mixer with the paddle attachment to mash them up. And my 3 items just came out of the oven, so I'm going to leave the oven at 350 because this is going in fairly shortly. So cooling on the counter in front of me, I have a chocolate custard pie, a pecan pie, and then tomorrow morning's breakfast, which is a berry buckle. So now moving on to the sweet potato casserole. So to these mashed up cooked sweet potatoes, I'm going to add 1 cup of white sugar and a 1/2 cup of whole milk, 2 beaten eggs, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pink sea salt, 1 teaspoon of real vanilla extract. Now I'm going to pop this back into my mixer and get this mixed all together. Oh, and don't forget to add 1/3 stick of butter as well. Now I'm going to get this mixing. I got the sweet potatoes all mixed together. I popped them into my buttered baking pan. This is about a 9 by 12, 3-quart glass. And then I sprinkled on brown sugar, and I don't measure that. I just sprinkle on a layer that looks good. And then I popped on some mini marshmallows. This is a 10-ounce bag of mini marshmallows that I got from Walmart for 88 cents. And a 10-ounce bag of mini marshmallows is a perfect amount, so I just dumped the whole bag on. So now I'm going to get this into my oven, which is still heated up to 350 degrees, and this is going to bake in there for a half hour.
Okay, so now making a Russian apple pie. So I cut parchment paper in a circle to fit this, and then you buttered the sides of the pan so that it doesn't like stick to it. Now peeled 4 apples, and now I'm cutting said 4 apples. I put the apples in all fancy, like that, fancy. And now I'm gonna put cinnamon over it, just like sprinkle cinnamon on top. Now that the cinnamon's on there, in here I'm gonna put 3 eggs, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1 cup of white sugar. I'm gonna put it in here with the paddle thing to mix.
What does that do to it?
It mixes it. I did things now. I mixed together the batter and I put it on top. So now it's that. Once the sweet potato casserole comes out, once the sweet potato casserole comes out of the oven, we're gonna turn up the heat to 375 and then put this in for like 45 minutes.
Or 55.
I said like 45. That insinuates
45
any
to
time around
55.
45.
That's a strange insinuation. Does it come from psychological symmetry?
You're not a teenager, you don't get it.
I'm cool. Well, the Russian apple pie is baking in the oven. I am now working on the cabbage salad. So in this mixing bowl, what I put in there was I chopped up a half a head of green or white cabbage into small bite-sized pieces, and then I chopped up 2 large bunches of scallions or green onions, and I popped them in here. Now, I have a package of chicken-flavored ramen noodles. I removed the seasoning packet. We'll be using that in a little bit. And I just squeezed the bag to crumble the noodles. Now, I'm going to take the noodles out in their pieces and just break them even smaller and crumble them into this mixture. So we are adding some raw ramen noodles. Then I'm just going to mix this together. Now I'm going to set this to the side, and I have this little small mixing bowl here where I'm going to make the dressing for the salad. So in this small bowl I'm going to start by putting in a half cup of extra virgin olive oil. And then to that I'm adding 3 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar. There's 1, 2, 3. And then we need some sweet, so to that I'm adding 2 tablespoons of white sugar. Then we're going to need some seasoning action in there. So I'm going to do a half teaspoon of ground black pepper and a half teaspoon of pink sea salt. Now I'm going to take the chicken seasoning from the ramen noodle package, and let's open that up, and we're going to pop that in next. There we go. Now it's coming out. I'm going to grab a fork, and now I'm going to get this dressing all mixed together. Alright, now this is almost fully mixed. It only takes a moment to do it. It mixes together really well, especially with a fork. I am now going to pour this dressing onto this cabbage mixture and get that all mixed together. And then after that, the cabbage salad is done and ready for tomorrow. So let's pop that on there. And here we are. Just going to mix this all together Then the cabbage salad is done. And I am just waiting for the Russian apple pie to come out of the oven, which will be in about 23-ish minutes. And then I'm pretty much done with the food prep that I need to do today. So after I get this mixed, I'm going to put what I have done already in the refrigerator in the garage, and then I need to get to work on cleaning this kitchen.
Well, it came out of the oven, so now I'm gonna take it out of the pan and flip it upside down onto here.
You might want to sit that on top of the pan and then flip the whole thing upside down.
Sounds complicated.
That was cool.
Here it is. It's very steamy. And then tomorrow before cutting it, just sprinkle some powdered sugar on it because that's cool.
My third born, 16-year-old son, came over and offered to finish dishes for me, so he finished that while I wiped counters and swept and got freshened up. And now I am just now setting out gifts for tonight, and my 14-year-old daughter and my husband are out picking up some pizza that we ordered, and we're getting ready to start our New Year's Eve night. Just one of the many fun gifts that we have unwrapped in our little gift-giving fun as people just unwrapped their gifts.
Tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1999.
No, I need purple. Oh, okay.
And I just won Clue again. Why? Because I figured out the algorithm to the game. INTJ power, baby.
Do you ever burn that?
First, tell me what you're doing here.
Somebody just sent a team to kill me.
Wow.
That was glittery.
Yeah, watch the sparkles. Ooh. What? What the heck?
Pissing out the air.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
Okay.
Happy New Year, everybody. So here we are on New Year's Day, and I just got our holiday breakfast out of the fridge. This is the berry buckle that you saw me make yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and get that divvied out so we can have our breakfast. Well, that berry buckle for breakfast was delicious. So now we're all just getting dressed and ready for the feast and festivities today. Happy New Year. Hello 2021. May it be better than 2020, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being much worse. But this isn't my world. I am here as an ambassador from Christ, and I know that this is a dark and fallen world. So we'll see what 2021 holds for us. We all know 2020 was quite interesting. All right, so yeah, now everybody has done some various different states of getting ready for the day, and yeah, we're gonna heat up some things for the feast, and pretty soon we're going to chow down. And it's a little bit after 8 o'clock at night, so we're winding down from our New Year's festivities. It was a good New Year's Eve and a good New Year's Day. The feast and the dessert were really good. So there we go. Have a blessed day.